Middle East, election wildcard, the Middle East. Just saying the name makes you think of oil, intrigue, and enough geopolitical drama to make House of Cards look like a children's puppet show. It's a region where ancient grudges meet modern weaponry, and where even a minor border spat can send shockwaves across the planet. Think about it. Oil prices, terrorism, the never-ending Israeli-Palestinian conflict. These are all issues that hit close to home for American voters, and with the Middle East constantly on the brink of, well, everything, it's no surprise that what happens over there can have a big impact on who Americans choose to lead the country. Buckle up, folks, because the road to the White House just took a detour through the world's most volatile region. Uncle Sam's report card, graded by Global Chaos. Let's be real, America's foreign policy track record in the Middle East is complicated to say the least. America has toppled dictators, armed rebels, brokered peace deals, and generally tried to impose our will on a region that's about as easy to control as a room full of toddlers hopped up on sugar. And you know what? The world is watching. Every decision, every intervention, every tweet from the Oval Office is scrutinized, analyzed, and used to judge not just our leaders, but us, the American people. Opponents point fingers, blame each other for past failures, and promise to do better, to be tougher, to restore America's standing in the world. The Middle East, my friends, becomes a political football, a way to score points with voters who are looking for a strong leader in a scary world. Voters want to know, what is America's role in the world? Are we the world's policeman, the peacemaker, or something else entirely? And how will our actions in the Middle East shape that role? History repeats from Suez to the ballot box. Think back to 1956. The Suez Crisis erupts, throwing the Middle East into chaos. The US, under President Eisenhower, takes a stand, forcing Britain, France, and Israel to back down. The result? Eisenhower wins re-election in a landslide, his handling of the crisis seen as a sign of strength and decisiveness. Fast forward to 1980. The Iran hostage crisis drags on, a daily reminder of American impotence on the world stage. President Carter, seen as weak and indecisive, loses to Ronald Reagan, who promises to restore American strength and pride. The lesson? Foreign policy matters, especially in the Middle East. The Iran factor, a vote-swinging showdown? Let's talk about Iran. The Islamic Republic, the Ayatollahs, the nuclear deal, it's enough to make your head spin faster than a centrifuge, too soon. Iran has been a thorn in America's side for decades, and the relationship between the two countries is about as stable as a Jenga tower built on a roller coaster. Every US election cycle, Iran seems to find a way to insert itself into the conversation. Whether it's accusations of terrorism, concerns over their nuclear ambitions, or debates about the effectiveness of sanctions, Iran is always there, lurking in the background. How do you think a full-blown conflict between Iran and Israel would play out in the US elections? You better believe it would be a game-changer. Polarized nation Middle East divides America. Let's face it, folks, America is a nation divided. Americans are split on everything from healthcare to gun control, and the Middle East is no exception. From the Israeli-Palestinian conflict to the war in Yemen, Americans hold deeply polarized views on how the US should engage with the region. On one side of the aisle, you have those who believe in a strong US military presence in the Middle East, who support Israel unequivocally, and who view Iran as an existential threat. On the other side, you have those who advocate for diplomacy and engagement, who criticize Israeli policies, and who believe that the US should focus on domestic issues rather than foreign interventions. These differing viewpoints are often exploited by politicians and interest groups who use the Middle East as a wedge issue to mobilize their base and demonize their opponents. The Middle East has become a lens through which we view everything from immigration to terrorism, from Islamophobia to the limits of American power. The media's megaphone, amplifying the crisis. The media, those intrepid truth seekers, those guardians of democracy, well, you know how it goes. The media plays a crucial role in shaping public opinion, and when it comes to the Middle East, that role can be both a blessing and a curse. On the one hand, the media can shine a light on injustice, expose wrongdoing, and hold those in power accountable. On the other hand, they can also sensationalize conflict, perpetuate stereotypes, and amplify existing biases. The truth is, the media often relies on familiar narratives and simplistic framings, which can reinforce stereotypes and prevent a deeper understanding of the region. During an election year, the media's focus on conflict and crisis can have a profound impact on how voters perceive the candidates and their positions on foreign policy. 2024 and beyond, a crystal ball glimpse. So, here we are, folks, on the precipice of the 2024 election. The Middle East is a concern, the media is a megaphone, and the American public is more polarized than ever. What does it all mean? Well, if I had a crystal ball, I'd tell you. But since I don't, let's just say this. Buckle up, because it's going to be a wild ride. One thing's for sure, the Middle East is not going away. And as long as there is conflict, instability, and the potential for crisis in the region, it will continue to be a major factor in American elections. The stakes: America's future on the line. The stakes couldn't be higher, folks. The decisions Americans make today, the leaders they choose, the policies they pursue, will have a profound impact on the future of the Middle East, and by extension, the future of America. Will Americans choose diplomacy or military might, engagement or isolationism? Will Americans seek to be a force for peace and stability, or will they allow themselves to be drawn further into the quagmire of conflict? These are not easy questions, and there are no easy answers. The Middle East is not some distant land that Americans can simply choose to ignore. So Americans cast their vote in this election. They need to think carefully about the candidates and their positions on the Middle East. The future of America, and indeed the world, may very well depend on the answer.